Hello, everyone out in podcast land. This is Michael with the Friends of Zeus podcast, and I'm just out here with you today on this beautiful spring day. We got some new episodes blooming here in the background. We should be bringing those to you, in the coming months. They're pretty beautiful. Just out here doing some gardening and thinking about this new episode that we have. And we worked hard on it. Like most of our episodes, we didn't really research it too much, just a little bit at the last minute. And as always, we think that you will find it very enlightening. So, welcome to Foz Podcast episode 158, Sweet Womb, Alabama.
Welcome back to the Friends of Zeus podcast, or Foz podcast. I keep forgetting to call it that, but this is episode 157.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight it's Dez's ship to steer. Tonight we're going to be talking about the recent, I guess it's recent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was it a bill that was passed or a law?
There's a whole ass law.
A whole ass law.
A whole ass law.
An ass law.
The law about asses.
The ass law.
Yeah. So Des, I think I'll let you explain what it's about.
Okay. Well, how are you guys? How have you guys been?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Feeling a little,
good.
Springtime.
Springtime, yeah.
You should do a show on springtime.
We should do a show in springtime. I think
Today is not the first day of spring. It's technically winter. However, it is the first day of meteorological spring. So that means it is officially tornado season here in the wonderful state of Kansas. So who knows? I might have to miss out on a few episodes due to naders.
Oh, man.
But there's no naders on the horizon tonight. So
have they come through your neighborhood since you've lived there? Or no?
Yeah, that one that
Really?
was like 3 years ago. Oh, yeah, you could see it from my house.
Man.
I have pictures of like...
Bob, that.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'll stick my non-nader Northern Virginia.
Well, you can always tell like who has lived here long, because the second a tornado warning is issued, everyone's like outside looking for the shit. Like, this ain't real. Where's it at?
Yeah.
Liars.
Wow, that is so train wreck society.
we should do like a storm chaser episode. Like we could
Dude,
all
I
go
would
out
love to go on a storm chase.
Desiree's place and get in a car and chase some
They have
storms.
those. There's like one of the guys that he was on Storm Chasers, I think was the name of the show on Discovery Channel.
Mm-hmm.
The guy with the TIV, the TIV.
The TIV?
The TIV?
I don't know what
the tornado intercept vehicle, the TIV.
Oh.
Duh.
I don't know the lingo, man.
Anyway, they created this vehicle, not that guy, but this vehicle has like these things that like can anchor it to the ground, and it like has like bulletproof windows and shit like that. Anyway, they go and they drive into tornadoes, and it's like they get like all this data and films, and they made like an IMAX film and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, that one of the guys that was on that show.
Of God.
Yeah, Twisters is coming out. That's that new movie.
That's right. They should just use like old like 76 Cadillacs for TIVs.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to Twisters. I mean, I know the first movie was just a popcorn movie, but it was
What's
fun.
A popcorn movie?
Well, I was
like
a
movie that's almost
the finger of God line. Like everybody was.
A popcorn movie is like a movie that's like a carnival ride. It's just fun. It's just a fun, like it's like getting on a roller coaster. You
Independence
watch it,
Day, perfect
Independence
example.
Day. It's just you just have fun with it. It's not like you're not taking film study classes about it or anything like that. But the end of Twister has that awesome Eddie Van Halen instrumental that he did just for that movie. I can't remember it, but it was an awesome song. Anyway.
Yeah, they filmed Twisters in Oklahoma. It was crazy because I kept seeing all the ads for like extras and shit for it.
Oh man.
Yeah, like a year or so ago. Anyway, back to the guy that was on Storm Chasers lives like 7 miles from me.
Jeez.
Anyway, he's kind of he's an interesting person. But anyway, he runs what are they called? Like storm chasing tours. I don't know. Like every
Yeah.
week in tornado season he goes, or like the peak of it, it's like five grand for him to take like a group of people to like they like go and they sniff the shit out and they go and they drive you around and you could like you can't get in the TIV or nothing, but
Oh, so they stay in that.
no, this guy he's not affiliated with the TIV.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
He was on the TV show where they had the
Where they
TIV on it.
had the tips. Do you see Tivs like driving around at
No,
like the
you don't.
7-Eleven
Well,
or anything?
actually, I have seen the TIV one time.
Oh,
And when you see that bitch, you're like, oh fuck.
yeah, something bad's
Oh, we're
coming.
down. We're in for it, man. But you can tell like not necessarily a TIV, but just random like you'll see like storm chasing vehicles just around and you're like, oh, they're fuck. Oh,
I mean,
better stay in tonight.
I know this is off top. I know this is off topic, but tornadoes can come in the dead of night, right? Or they only come during the day.
They can come at night.
So
Usually
how
when
do
the
you,
sun goes down, it does lower the tornado risk significantly,
because
but
of the temperature
because of the
is
yeah.
all
But I
right.
mean, they can come at night, and how it sucks because a lot of people usually die. I mean,
Yeah, because they're in bed and they're asleep.
yeah, and so they have these things called weather radios. You ever heard of?
Oh yeah.
They're real fucking loud. They're really loud, and they're designed to wake you up because a tornado siren. I mean, that's like one of I do have a fear like in the springtime, summertime, whatever, of like because I sleep during the day that I'm not gonna
That's
hear that,
that's what I'm
even though
getting
it's
at.
not very far from my house.
Like it would like has anyone ever like gone to sleep and then woke up like 3 miles from their house in a field? Like
I'm
I'm
sure.
sure that's happened before.
I'm sure. Yeah. There's a tornado that blew away this one town called Greensburg. And it was like a huge tornado and it came through at like almost 10 o'clock at night and it was the size of the town. Like it was
Jeez.
just took out the whole thing. And it was
Jeez.
crazy.
It's like a
But
big undo command.
yeah.
All
And
right.
you can tell people that have been through it, like you'll see these videos every once in a while there where they're like standing at their back balcony filming the tornado and they're like, oh yeah, like they're just not phased.
Yeah, that's actually
They're
every
dumb.
person that lives here. That's what we do.
Wow.
We want to get a video or something of this
Yeah.
shit, or we have to go in the basement.
TikTok that shit.
Because on in every one of those videos, you always see like somebody like, okay, now it's time to go in, y'all. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's getting too
Yeah.
close.
Mine would be as soon as I saw it.
Yeah, no, but
Don't they
you can
jump?
tell.
Don't they like disappear
No,
and
I mean
show up?
they can, but
That's the movie.
it's not like it's not like literally jumping. It's they go and then they have to recycle and come down later. I mean, it's usually it's not the same tornado. It's a completely different tornado. But yeah, you can if there's some weather going to be happening in the evening, you can walk out in the morning and just you can feel it. Like there's something brewing up there.
Wow.
Shit.
Wow.
So
Doesn't the sky take like a yellowish tint or
green,
something?
it's like green,
Yeah.
but that's like right before. Yellow is hail, green is naders.
Haters. I love
Naders.
that.
Naderville. Anyway, we're not here to talk about naders. We're here to talk about Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama. Have you guys ever been to Alabama?
No.
Nope.
I have not. I have
I've
not
been to
been to
Alabama
Alabama.
one time. Florida Bama. That's it. Where the mullet thing.
Floribama.
Where I was like, I don't know
Gulf
what the mullet
Coast.
was. Gulf Coast. Yep, that
Yeah.
was it.
I was in
It was
Columbus,
so
Georgia,
much
which
fun.
is like Florida. Columbus, Georgia is like that Florida, Alabama, Georgia place. Like everybody would drive over to Alabama to get booze because Georgia didn't sell it on Sundays or something. Yeah,
We used to
that's
not
my
sell. We used to not sell booze on Sundays here. It was crazy.
booze needs to be available everywhere.
Yeah, I've been to Georgia too many damn times. I've been to
Yeah.
Atlanta more times than I wish I had. More times. Don't like it. It's hot. Really hot Atlanta.
Hot Atlanta.
Hot Atlanta. Anyway, so
So what's going
Alabama
on? What's going
recently
on in Alabama,
they're
Desiree?
being crazy. So Alabama First of all, they have one of the strictest abortion laws in the country. They have, absolute abortion.
Can't have sex. They don't even allow sex.
There's no sex allowed.
Yeah.
You can consummate the marriage one time. That is it.
Yep.
Anyway, no, they have the strictest abortion laws in the country. They have absolutely no abortion, and there's not even exceptions for rape and incest.
Has it always been like that, or just since Hobbs? Like just since the recent?
Just since the recent.
Okay. So they probably have these laws like that. I can't remember what they were called, but they were like, if the Supreme Court ever does, then these go into effect.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, recently, the whole internet and the whole news people are like losing their damn minds over the fact that Alabama has now ruled that frozen embryos are now people. Frozen, so, not like frozen. So IVF, frozen embryos. This is no longer the discussion of the ages of how long they've been in the womb. This is petri dishes.
So they have not been in a, just just in case Tom's watching, so he understands. This is pre-womb, post-conception.
Conception.
Right. So not in the womb.
I don't know. I feel like post-fertilization is maybe the right terminology.
Post-fertilization. Yeah.
Because I feel like conception has to do with the uterus too. Like I think that has to be involved, but I don't know.
Do they freeze right away, or is it like the sperm and the egg are like, hey, what's going on, man? And they get frozen right away, or can they hang out for a while? Like, do they split?
Let's talk about IVF for a minute.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
So IVF, what they do is they take the woman has to go through several rounds of like hormone injections, so you can like produce a lot of eggs, right? They get them all ready, and then they take a needle and they extract as many eggs as they can out of the female, and then they take those eggs and they put them in a petri dish, with the sperm, and they watch, and they kind of like scooch the sperm close, like get over there.
Put on some Neil Diamond music. Yeah.
And as soon as that happens, I mean, this is like they take it, and they within 2 hours of them extracting the eggs, they have to do this.
Okay.
So as soon as they do that, they freeze them. Say, okay.
Does the guy just over the petri dish?
I mean, I'm sure that could be a way, but probably not. Maybe into like a vial, and it's extracted with like a pipette. But I don't know. Don't work there. So then they freeze them, and then they're frozen, and then I don't know how long after that they kind of look at them, they kind of examine them again, and they take the most viable embryos. So sometimes, because this is not the natural way of conception, I mean, even in the natural way of conception, this happens. Sometimes the egg and the sperm unite, and it's not going to be good. It's going to end in miscarriage. There could be some genetic abnormalities.
You never know.
It ain't looking good in there. So they put those to the side. They say, yeah, these aren't going to be viable. They call them non-viable embryos. So they just chuck them. Not chuck them. They set them aside.
Just throw them out the window.
They say, and then say that after everything's done, say that leaves you with 8 viable embryos. Okay, so then they go back to the families and they say, okay, we have these 8 embryos. Let's start in the implantation process. So then they implant usually 1 at a time, maybe 2 at a time, maybe 3 at a time. I mean, I don't know why. I can't imagine why you would want triplets, but I'm sure some people want twins. Okay.
Or they're figuring one may not survive or not.
Well, yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah. I mean, one may not survive, but I think most of the time the implantation process anymore is a little bit easier, because you hear of like the Octomom and like John and Kate plus 8 and stuff, and that's not usually something that happens that often.
And they would all be identical. They would always have to be identical, right? Because
no, they wouldn't be identical, because
they're
identical
different.
Twins come from one sperm, 1 egg that splits post-conception.
Oh, so they'd all be fraternal.
So they'd all be fraternal.
Ah, that's interesting.
I mean, it could turn into, I guess, I don't know. I don't know when the split has to occur. I don't know. But so yeah, and then if the pregnancy takes, that's great, baby comes along, and then 2 years later, let's just say they wanted they can take that same group of embryos that they have and try again for another baby. So the woman doesn't have to go through that hormone injection, because that's like really, it kind of sucks from what everyone says. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, you're
I've done it.
short-circuiting your,
Your
fallopian
body.
tubes, right? I mean, you're
It's like
making
having
it.
a menstrual cycle times a million.
Yeah, that seems really, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty bad. Yeah.
Seems like something I
And
would
the
want
other
to do.
thing is, I mean, women are born with all the eggs they're ever going to have, right? It's not like sperm they get regenerated. Yeah.
Yeah, but the hormones, it like there's probably a word for it. It's like follicular. They have to get ready. They're not ready. Like, yes, you're born with all of them, but they have to be
Processed.
Processed basically. So they're not. That's why you have to go through this hormone. You can't just extract folliculate.
You can't just take them out of the ovaries.
You can't just take them out of the ovaries.
They have to be delivered.
They have to be. They have to be baked a little bit.
There's an expiration date.
This is my
if
favorite
not sold
episode
by
so far.
such and such a date.
I like bacon eggs. It's fun. Bacon
I already know what the
eggs is
thumbnail's
good.
going to be for this one. I already know.
Okay. So what do they do with the embryos that they don't use? Because either they're the ones that they just don't look very good, or the family only wanted one single baby and they don't want the rest of them embryos in that petri dish. So they either donate them to some research, or they simply get rid of them. I mean, it's just how it goes. Because if you were to do this process and only fertilize one egg at a time, do you want to? That would be, first of all, in vitro fertilization is like $20,000 a round. So if you go through it and the one that they extract doesn't take, you got to go through it again. 20 more grand. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah.
For a baby.
Yeah.
I mean, it's eventually you're either going to run out of money or you're going to run out of the ability to go through that cycle. I don't know.
Can I ask a question just in case you know it? And I'm not, so I'm assuming that there's some kind of precedent or law on the books somewhere that deals with the legality of these embryos in case the mother and father, after the procedure, split.
Yeah, well, there's been court cases. I don't know about if there's a standing law, but there has been court cases about like custody of the embryos, basically.
Right, like who gets them, and so anyway, I didn't know if anyone knew that. I don't
know why you would want them, and this is why I say that, because if you're divorcing the person,
I get you. Yeah, why would you?
I 3 years later want a baby with you?
But I feel like, with anything else, and especially in today's society, whenever you do anything, if you get 2 Tylenol at a hospital, you got to sign like a phone book worth of paperwork. So I got to believe there's some small print when couples engage in it. I'm just curious what that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I know there's been cases about it, but I don't know if there's any standing legality. There is when you do go through IVF. There's like, you got to sign waivers and waivers and waivers and waivers. Probably you don't read the whole waiver. I'm just saying most people don't read the shit when they sign, but that has to do with the clinic that's doing it. They're like what they're going to do with the embryos that are left, basically, and kind of their responsibility with that. Like basically, the clinic is stating that these embryos are property of them.
Oh,
and so they're to do with them what they wish.
The
if
labs.
Not claimed then if not claimed by the families.
So are we going to have
via pregnancy?
Are we going to have a battalion of embryo soldiers that were raised by the government on a farm somewhere and
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe in Alabama. Anyway, so Alabama has ruled. So Alabama made this ruling that embryos are people. Here's why. But here's the backstory to all of it. In maybe 2020, like three families brought this lawsuit against, I think it was University of Alabama. That might be incorrect. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it was. Because that's the big facility where they be doing these IVF treatments, and they store the embryos there. Well, and I don't know how this happened, but somehow a fucking patient wandered his ass or her ass into the place that they store the embryos and got them, like somehow got them with their bare hands. They're really cold in the freezer.
Liquid nitrogen.
Pulled them out of the thing, dropped them on the ground because it it was freezer burning their hands. Dropped them on the ground, and then they're all dead. Like they're all non-viable at this point because they're now out of their freezerness.
Oh my God.
So 3 of the families that this happened to, or it was their embryos, they sued. They brought a wrongful death lawsuit against, I don't know if it was against the individual
probably
or
the
against
hospital,
Alabama, the University of Alabama or whatever. So the district court or whatever was like, well, I don't know, we're gonna not rule in your favor because embryos, as the law is written, embryos aren't covered in this wrongful death of a minor child statute. So then it went to the Supreme Court of Alabama, and that's whom said, yeah, they are.
Wow.
Huh.
So now keep in mind, this is a civil case. So in Alabama now, in the civil statute of wrongful death of a minor child, it does include embryos. This is not criminal. This is not criminal, changing the criminal definitions of murder, manslaughter, any type of anything that has to do with
it's for money.
It's for civil
Okay,
cases
well,
only.
that's a horse of a different color.
Exactly, it's a horse of a different color. So that's the part that the media is not saying. Because
So wait, you're saying that the media is withholding information to produce
this is not possible.
narrative?
Well, I'm saying that they're not saying the part that's really fucking important.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
That changes the whole thing.
I mean, basically what they're saying is if they're saying that it is in the sense for civil cases, there's money that's put into it, right? There's pain and suffering from the mother, moment of joy for the dad, but it's all lost. It's all lost just because this person dropped everything on the ground. So there is a financial loss I could see.
Yeah,
and I could see pain and
you lost that money
or mental anguish.
I don't.
You have to go through it again.
It doesn't sound like them changing the status of the embryo really has any implications in this civil.
I think it does, because if you're one of these labs and now all of a sudden your refrigerator stops working or something else, like what Desiree was saying, which I also didn't know, is that a lot of these labs say this belongs to us. And it sounds weird, but I could see why they would do that, because if they're responsible for it, they want to have ownership of it. They don't want to get into all this other stuff. So yeah, you're basically, if you allow this, even as a civil thing where you could get an award, like a big award, it's just another way of shutting down IVF clinics.
But
because
hold on a second,
there's going to be so much liability now.
But think about it in the eyes of these 3 families.
Mm-hmm. That's horrible.
You just lost your chance. You're so close, so close. You got him in the freezer, man.
And you may not be able to do it again.
Yeah. From a financial standpoint.
From a financial standpoint.
Or physical.
From a physical
Functionally,
standpoint.
You could do it 1,000,000 times, but...
No, not necessarily.
No,
not necessarily. You can't, just because you go through those rounds of... I mean, you could have gone through them rounds. Listen,
I'm sorry.
A lot of people for IVF do this. They do this too. They'll freeze their eggs when they're like 25. And then like when they're 50, when they're like all said and done, they're established, they feel established, they're whatever it could be, then they try for the pregnancy, or they use a surrogate. Yeah. One of the two.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Or if they have some kind of genetic thing, like if Down syndrome is very, very, very prevalent in their family, they're gonna freeze their eggs, or they had cancer and so they froze their eggs and stuff prior to them going through the treatments. That was a long time ago. And now they went through the treatments and they had to have a radical hysterectomy, and now they don't have any ovaries to do this, and they can't go and use that surrogate that they, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of them. I don't know the details of these 3 families, but
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's a bull in a china shop. I mean, just the little tiny bit I know, my initial take is I think it would have a chilling effect on IVF. In other words, if you're one of these three families, I mean, it sucks, right? It sucks.
Yeah.
But essentially, they're putting these places out of business because a hospital is just not, hospitals get sued all the time because they have deep pockets. And if they're not going to take on this other layer of risk, they're just going to be like, we don't do IVF service. I mean, the bean counters are not going to let them do it after a while. If there's going to be that much liability, or they will take on the liability, and then the cost of doing it, instead of being 20 grand, it's going to be like 50 grand and 60 grand and 100 grand because they're like,
Mhm.
man, if we have to lock up and put a guard on the room so that numbnuts doesn't come down here and dump them out on the floor, that's cost some money. So I
Or
think
they're
the
gonna have
net
to pay
result,
some lawyer to redo their. I feel like it's simply you can just redo your
you
contract
got to
and
redo the contract. Yeah, the whole thing has to be refigured out because otherwise you're going to make it less available to people, I think, because you're going to make it harder.
well, I kind of didn't think about it like that, but I mean that's yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like maybe wrongful death wasn't the lawsuit that should have been brought. And again, I don't know if it was towards the person that snuck into the place and dropped the shit on the floor
Probably both.
or if it was the hospital. But I think both people have a I think the hospital instead of wrongful death should have more been sued for negligence
Yeah.
because
Like yeah.
somehow something happened to where that patient got in there. The door was left open, the locks were shit.
Yeah.
It was in a place where why is that able to be snuck in? Like why is that? Like
Right.
why is the IVF
Yeah. How can you just go in
like
there?
freezer not on a different location outside? Like why is it not 17 locks on the door?
Yeah.
Again, I I don't know.
And is it the same as like if you go in and they cut the wrong leg off or I don't know. I mean, that's like medical malpractice. This is like procedural malpractice or something. Like I
Well,
don't.
yeah, but it wasn't like a lab technician that did it. That
Right, right.
didn't wear gloves like they were supposed to and touch the nitrogen freezer. You
But
know.
then see, this could also be like what, and again, I'm just being devil's advocate here, but I mean, what if a couple comes in, they have 10 eggs taken out, 10 embryos, and they go to implant them, and it's just a comedy of errors, and none of them take. I mean,
Uh-huh.
isn't that this? Couldn't they also say, "Hey, you've ruined our chances of having a kid. We didn't get any." I mean, I'm sure they've already have paperwork that takes care of
And
this,
That's
but
there's gotta be a
they could say it's malpractice. You guys did it wrong. This guy didn't do this right, and that's why we
or you
didn't have a
didn't freeze
baby,
the eggs weren't frozen or
or
the
it wasn't the
embryos
right
weren't frozen at the
temperature.
temperature or
Yeah, I mean, we wanted the grade A, and you got the
well,
extra
now
large cage-free ones.
here's a question I have. So the husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend, whoever that are utilizing this service, if they're unable to have kids, to what degree is that blamed on the actual sperm or the actual eggs? Like if they're broken, are they just pulling out broken pieces that aren't gonna fit together?
well
Or
they also I mean they do like I said IVF it encompasses a lot. Like if you have, bad eggs, they're gonna know. Like they're
okay,
gonna they're
that's
gonna be like, yeah, well, listen, chick, you got some bad eggs, or you don't have any eggs. Or to the man, listen, you don't produce any sperm. Your sperm count is 2. This is gonna be really hard.
Yeah, we're gonna have to find it. Yeah.
Find a donor or something.
Yeah, I
I
don't.
mean, it's just I feel like there's a big degree of trust that goes into IVF treatments. I mean,
It's a
you
miracle.
really got to be like, listen, this is the last hope we got.
Yeah, it's a miracle. And again, I don't know a lot about it. I know people, I know multiple couples that have been through it. And I mean, it was just an emotional, just train crash, you know? I mean, it turned out well for everybody. One was fairly quick. Another one, it took years and years and years and years.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of anguish, and I mean it's a very emotional thing, right? I mean you're really it's like having this private moment, but in front of all these doctors and your friends, and everyone knows what you're doing, and it's, how's it going? We're gonna try another one. It's just, and if it doesn't go well, it's fraught, as they say. It's not like a slam dunk. It's highly risky. I don't know. I mean, to me, it's like for people that are doing that, it, like you said, Desiree, it's their last, for pretty much most people, it's their last hope.
Yeah, I
But then
feel
you always hear the stories where they did the IVF and then like 2 months later they conceive naturally.
Yeah.
I don't know why that. I'd be so pissed.
Yeah. Like all this.
Like, what the fuck? Could have
I need
happened. I
to,
spent all this damn money.
I'm gonna abort that one. I want one of the frozen ones that I paid for.
Yeah.
But I
And then you
think
got like the $20,000 baby and then the fucking free one.
this is horrible. I can't believe I'm laughing. But here's I think part of why this story is resonating so much is because of the Hobbs decision. It's an election year. It's abortion tangential, right? Um,
Yeah.
it brings in a lot of those things. And again, Desiree, I mean, I think it's a great service that you just pointed out the fact that it's for civil, you know, and not criminal, because yeah, I haven't heard that at all. I mean, I barely heard about the story, but I definitely didn't hear that, you
Yeah,
know.
well, a lot of people are I'm sure a lot of Alabamians and definitely a lot of people that this is being peddled to, the media is peddling this story to without saying the really fucking important part, is saying, like, oh, these IVF clinics are going to be shutting down because they're afraid of like the being criminally charged of,
Yeah.
disposed, because that's part of it. That is part of it. The shit that isn't going to be used goes elsewhere.
Yeah,
Part of it. What do you do
Man.
like
with
I
them?
said, I just don't feel like a law or a bill had to be passed to have any effect on this. It sounds 99% of the time it's going to be on the hospital for negligence.
Well, again, this was a
But it
court
wasn't,
ruling.
because it was
This,
wrongful death. That's what the lawsuit was. So I
yeah, and it wasn't a new
feel like
law.
this whole story, yeah, okay. Whoever it was that was sued was responsible for the wrongful death of these embryos. I mean,
That's
yeah.
where I'm
But the
having.
law didn't say that. The law said that there's three people that can sue for in a wrongful death of minor child: the parent, the mother, the father, and or the child's executor of the estate.
Oh,
So
That's where I'm having the issue is the wrongful death aspect of this, because I mean I'm not super religious. I believe that it's a life and blah 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 all that stuff, but if the well, okay, this may lean to what you were saying. So you're saying that these are fertilized embryos that this happened to. That's why it's a wrongful death.
yeah, because
Okay.
these three families sued whomever, the hospital, the individual,
Okay,
not
that
real
makes
sure,
sense.
and
well,
they
here's a
they were
question.
not going to win their case because the statute did not say anything about frozen embryos. It said, child, a person, you know.
Not, I mean, not to be all like wild world of sports instant replay here, but if a woman is, see, I don't know, if there's a certain type, are like an IUD, it allows fertilization but not implantation. Isn't that correct? Like it, in other words, the sperm and the egg
It
could
makes
join
it makes the uterus hospitable. No,
or in
actually, that's not
hospital,
what it, or
in hospital.
that's not what it does. An IUD, it kind of looks like an umbrella like this,
Yeah, yeah.
and it causes, I think it causes the ovaries not to be able to release the egg, like it blocks it.
See,
I
I
think,
thought it
I don't
was
know.
more of a. I thought it was more of a. It had like a hormonal effect.
man,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know, man.
We don't
This is
know.
sad.
We don't know how birth control works.
But
We're
here,
not medical
Normally,
professionals.
normally we have. Normally we know
but
everything about what we're talking
but
about.
here's the thing though, and this is why I'm bringing it up. I have to assume that there is a form of birth control that is post
Plan
sperm and
B.
egg meeting,
Plan
and
B.
it does not let it meet
RU four
join
eighty
onto
seven. Is
the
that it?
uterus. So, but what I'm
Yeah,
saying is
plan
that's
B. I don't think that's how IUDs work.
okay,
But that is how plan B works.
but that's how this works, right? So they're coming together. but they're not being implanted. So
It's like
Mhm.
it's like the uterine version of the prisoner holding his hand up to the glass as his as his
but what I'm
as
saying is,
Sarah
if
Morris got her hand up to the glass. They can see each other, but they ain't getting in.
but like, is that wrongful death? I mean, in other words, it's, I can see where this, you can just
That's what I
get
have a
caught into the
problem with.
minutia of this.
I
And
mean,
I
this
mean,
is
if you're
where we get
Catholic, you
into
think it is?
conversation about conception. Is that when life starts, or yeah, that's that
I
discussion.
mean, the thing is, an embryo has, it does have a unique DNA uh strain, correct? I mean, once the sperm and the egg come together, it
It's a
has a
zygote, and then
unique,
it becomes an embryo for so long before it's a fetus.
but even as an embryo, it has a unique DNA code.
Yeah.
Like it's a
Probably.
unique,
Yeah,
if
but it's
left to
just
its
still a
own
ball of
devices,
cells.
yeah, it will, but you can't duplicate that, is what I'm saying. It's
Well,
a
twins seem to do
individual
it.
thing. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I
Triplet.
think this is something, and I don't know, and I am woefully ignorant on this topic of what Alabama did and all that. But again, my first take is I feel like it's a solution that's going to be more of a problem than, I think it's
Later.
going to hurt more than it helps.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do in other arenas. Okay, let's just say I had a fuck, what is it called? A tubal pregnancy. There's a name
Like
for it.
me. Oh,
What
oh.
what's the name for it?
Oh,
Ectopic pregnancy.
where it's
That's what
in
it's
Topic.
the
Yeah.
called.
fallopian tube,
Yeah.
where it's
Yeah,
in the
where
fallopian
yeah.
tube.
Let me just say this clearly. An ectopic pregnancy will absolutely never result in a viable child. It will not. And at that, it is a medical emergency for the woman. It
Yeah,
will kill you.
Painful.
Absolutely will kill you.
Yeah.
So just for the people in the back, that's what that is.
yeah.
But I guess in Alabama, let's just say I had a ectopic pregnancy and I went to the hospital to get my life saved because I have this thing going on. And they have to you have to terminate it's either pregnancy termination or radical hysterectomy.
Yeah.
Those are the only two fixes for that. Hopefully you can catch it before it bursts. Hopefully. But if I did that and my partner whom claimed that's the other thing, who claims to be the father of the child, then wanted to take me to court because there's only three people that could bring this lawsuit: the father, the mother, or the
Yeah.
executor of the child's estate. Could technically take me to court and sue me for wrongful death. But
Wow.
again, the law. But again, the law does say frozen embryo. It doesn't say embryo in the embryo states. But
And
I guess they could change it.
I mean, and again, this is where, to go back to the Hobbs decision, which really, I mean, and people say it turned over Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade was already a dead letter for decades. I mean, no one was paying attention to Roe v. Wade. The Hobbs decision basically put the kibosh on, late term abortions, and it did it by just giving it back to the states. And states like Alabama were like, okay, none, which is,
Nothing
in
for
my
you,
opinion,
you fucks.
is equally absurd. I mean, again, I am definitely um pro-life and all that, but to me, it's like, for my entire life, we had the trimester system where, and what Roe said was during the first trimester, which is a completely man-made term, right? But during the first trimester,
I think it's a
you
math
can
made
have it.
term because
Well,
if you divide it by three,
yeah, but it didn't exist until Roe. Roe brought that terminology in. And during the first trimester, it you had a you could do it. In the second trimester, it was up to the states. And in the third trimester, no bueno.
no dice.
And that, I mean, there were people arguing about this, but most people, I think, that was reasonable for most people. I mean, I think that was a good way of taking care of it. But
Parameters. It was
parameters,
parameters.
but we had people that had to push it all the way to the very end, and now you're gonna have people push it all the way to, like, an embryo is a human being. I mean, it's
A frozen embryo is a human being. A
frozen embryo
frozen
is a
one.
human being.
Because I mean, an embryo and a frozen embryo, definitely two different things.
Different things, exactly. I just think, and now I don't know. I don't know.
I mean,
It's so,
if I was that family that happened to, I'm suing somebody. Somebody's getting sued, and I don't care what it's for, but somebody's getting their ass sued.
I mean,
Because
you
I'm pissed.
definitely should get
I'm
all your
sad,
money
but
back, and you should get pain and suffering, and you should get, yeah, I mean, and that's a civil thing, and I
yeah,
get
civil.
that. I just don't, yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
what I'm saying. I don't see where it
it's
can
not
come into a
murder,
criminal.
right? They're
No.
not
No,
saying it's murder.
but here's the fear. I think maybe this is not what the fear is now, because people think that this is criminal. It's not criminal. But this is crazy. I mean, it's crazy. I don't know. The thing about this is pretty radical, but when you think about how this happened, I can see how the Supreme Court was like, well, okay, sure. They're
I just
frozen embryos. But what if the criminal circuit is like, they said it was, we can too. And
that's
then
my
they changed their statutes of, murder,
Yeah.
all the things that are criminal that you can be charged with criminally, and add in frozen embryos into it and say, okay, now if you're an IVF provider, when you dispose of those things, even when because now you can't businesses can't write some kind of a law that said, or some kind of a waiver, or put in their
Correct.
like, permission slips that, hey, if we murder you,
Yeah.
you can't sue us.
Yeah, that's not exactly.
Because this is not like you're doing something at your own risk. We're not liable for what you do. That's not it's different. So you can't say that if I murder you, you can't sue me, because that's a criminal thing. So now if they do go dispose of the non-viable embryos or the unused embryos, however they do, either to science or to the trash, then they can be charged criminally for, murder 8
Which
times.
will
It depends
just
on how many.
destroy the procedure, which means no one will
Yeah.
be able to have it done
Or
anymore.
if the pregnancy doesn't take, is that considered
and I'm
some type of something?
my personal beliefs. I think it's a wonderful thing to give people a chance at something that 100 years ago, not even 100 years ago, they couldn't do. You know what I mean? I think it's a great thing. Somebody wants to have a child and they make it possible for them to have a child in a different fashion. I think it's great. I think to make it, to have punicle.
I like that word.
Punitive outcomes from this, it's I think it's terrible.
So all the prosecutors.
What was that? Is that
It's
Zeus?
It's Zeus.
Oh,
Frozen.
I think you're
Can't
frozen.
be
Oh,
frozen.
Zeus is frozen.
He's a frozen embryo, y'all.
He's yeah, man. We may have to get rid of him at the end of this podcast if we can't find anywhere
It
to
looks probably non-viable.
place him.
Oh, he's alive.
All right.
I heard everything you guys were saying. That was hilarious.
Was
He looks kind of
fantastic.
non-viable.
Yep, he's
Yeah,
non-viable.
the stellar internet here at Patriots Pub and Cafe. And
Oh, is that where you are?
Fairfax, Virginia. Yeah.
Yes, in Fairfax, Virginia, which they just had their primary today.
Oh, is today Super Tuesday, or is that coming
Yeah.
up?
Next Tuesday.
No, it was today.
Yeah.
Polls are closed, dude.
Whatever.
Well, I don't know. I feel like when you can't say in the same sentence, Alabama, that we're extremely pro-life, so pro-life that
You can't have a baby.
you can't have a baby.
Again, everyone wants to take everything to the slippery slope. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, there's people. Look, I'm sure this life is weird, man. I mean, when IVF first came out, and I'm just saying this because it's probably how it happened. I don't know. But I bet you when it was first being proposed, people were like, this is crazy. This is madness. You're going to be having, battalions of embryo babies fighting your wars for you. You're going to have it's going to be
They're
Soylent
all going to
Green.
come out and be non-binary.
We're going to harvest them for food. I mean, I'm sure there were people back then, and from a from a religious
Harvesting for
standpoint,
food.
from a religious standpoint, it's like, okay, this is when mankind starts monkeying around with God's business, all these unthought of things happen that cause problems. Now we are here in Alabama where they're calling for his embryos people. It's like, I mean, once we
Yeah.
start monkeying with stuff, and I'm not saying not to monkey with stuff, but I'm saying once you start monkeying with stuff, this is it's the ripple in the pool, right? You throw the rock in and the ripples go out. This is the ripples going out.
Here's the whole
Thanks for explaining ripples to us, Mike.
There you go.
Thank
here's
you.
the whole I don't even know what the word is. Two-facery of it all, maybe.
Hmm.
The people that are saying that had said that when the shit first came out are probably the same people who are now trying to fucking put their foot in their mouth because they couldn't get pregnant and now this is the only option that they have and they have to use it. So
Yeah.
now it's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
And it's the same, that's the same argument as abortion. It's like, okay, you said that you didn't want it. You said that, it was terrible until that happened to you, until that was the option. And now your viewpoint has changed.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
This is why the whole abortion, IVF, anything involving manipulation of birth is never gonna be settled. Because it's a very personal situation that we're painting all these fucking broad strokes with. It's just, we should just come to grips with the fact that we're never going to be happy with this and we're constantly going to be battling. Because
What is
how about like, I'm 21, I get a girl pregnant, I'm at a prime age in my life, and I can make money and I can finish my school and all that, and all the pieces are in place. But when I'm 53 and have this tryst or whatever and get somebody pregnant, my attitude might change.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's just there's never gonna be satisfaction with this one.
Okay, here's another argument to the embryo thing, the frozen embryo thing. What if I decided at 23 that I don't want to have kids right now because I want to travel this world? Kids are just gonna get in my way. They cost too much money, too much work. But one day, I think I'll be good with it. So I freeze my eggs. And now this is egg freezing. This is a different. So, okay, so let's bring this in. I'm married also. I'm 23 and married. And we as a couple decide that we want to have children one day, except for we want to travel the world, all the things I already said. So we go through IVF, we freeze embryos. Okay, good. Now we go travel the world, and our viewpoint has now changed to, actually, that kid thing sounds fucking terrible. Good thing we never did it.
Mm-hmm.
And then just never revisit the embryo
Yeah, and I'm sure
situation
that
again.
look, I'm sure people that go off to war, women or men, and it's like, hey, why don't we do this just in case something happens? Like, I don't want to get married again. I want to be able to have whatever. Who knows?
Or yeah, you freeze embryos because he goes off to war, and you're like, well, if you die, I want to have your baby.
Or someone's dying of cancer.
Yeah, the cancer treatment thing. Yeah.
I mean, look, here's it to jump back to the global governance episode, right? I could make an argument if I'm one of these um super smart people that want to direct all of humanity. And I'd say, you know what? IVF is not good because why are we letting people that can't naturally reproduce? We're weakening ourselves as a species. Like, why would we do that? Right? I mean, that's pretty cold. But you could make that argument. You could be
For
like,
what it's
well, we shouldn't
worth,
be doing it anyway.
for what it's worth, have we heard of any like Mensa people or celebrities or politicians that were brought into this world through IVF yet?
No, but there is some that have utilized IVF that have
Right,
spoken out against
the point
this.
being is maybe he's right. Maybe that whatever we're getting is like the run through a coffee filter.
Again, I'm not saying that. I'm saying rhetorically, I could make that argument if I had the perspective of Klaus Schwab, right? Or any of these people, like where I can plan this for other people versus the other thing, like Desiree was saying, like we're here for our amount of time. It's our life. we're going to live the way we want to live it. The thing is too, it's hard to write a law. A law is, equal representation under the law means if Desiree does X and it's illegal, she gets in trouble for it. If Zeus does it, he gets in trouble. If I don't do it,
I
I don't
always
get in
get in
trouble.
trouble.
So but you're dealing with, because humans are involved and because it's biology, it's all wicky wacky. It's all like all these weird things can happen. And
There always is a gray area.
there's
I feel like.
always going to be a gray area, and when you wrap this into the abortion issue that we've been dealing with our whole lives, there are people on each side of that issue. I'm not saying everyone, but there's people on each side of that issue that vilify the motives of the other. So they assume the worst intentions of the other people. It's like, are there really people out there saying like, oh man, this is murder if we're not going to use these embryos, and we're not, what are we supposed to do? Like
I'm sure there is some people out there
have
that feel
other
like
people
that.
use them or
Yeah,
something? I know, I'm
Westboro
sure there
Baptist.
are. And it's like, but there's also people that eat their own earwax. Doesn't mean it's good for everybody. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just
Also
saying,
me. I'm just kidding. I don't eat
yeah,
my own earwax.
I'm just saying, I think,
Gross.
yeah, I know. I just think there's,
What do you think is worse, earwax or boogers?
oh, earwax.
Oh, earwax. Boogers are great.
Earwax? I
Yeah.
don't know. I think if I had to eat one, I think I'd probably.
When I was a
I'd
kid,
throw up. I'd just
when
throw
I
up
was
over
a
both
kid,
of
I
them.
definitely ate some boogers, and
Oh,
I think I
definitely.
tried earwax once.
I've inadvertently tried earwax only because I've been like, digging around my ear or whatever, like something, and then like
Yeah.
a couple hours later, just like put my finger in my mouth. Ew,
Yeah. No,
that's earwax.
it's crazy, man. I
And
don't.
and we were all viable.
Can you
We
make a
live.
candle out of earwax?
You know, but there is something called ear candling. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, they're cool.
That's
They're
No.
cool.
What is that?
You like lay
So-
like this at with a candle, like kind of like not in your ear, but like so far, at just some distance
It's
away.
like a
I'm
tube.
sure. Yeah, and it like tubes the heat into your ear basically.
And the heat causes
the
suction.
earwax melts because that's what a wax do. It melts and it like pulls out all the bullshit in your ear. People have said there's been like bugs that come out of their ear.
That's
like,
got to
just
be
dirt.
illegal, man.
No,
I've never
it's
done
actually.
it, but I do want to. Just
I
to
want to
see
say
what's out of my
that
ear.
medically they use it sometimes, don't they?
I don't know.
What about the little squeegee ball that you just put water in there? And you squeeze the water in?
Yeah, people squeeze
oh,
it at the wrong time a lot.
Oh.
I don't think that's a thing.
Oh, okay.
There's a thing
No,
called
you're talking about the booger ball.
Oh.
yeah.
Not
Don't
for your
ever
ear.
PSA. Don't ever squeeze water into your ear with a sake bulb because that's gonna be very painful.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
They do that test on people. This is fucking dark, but they do that test on people. It's called the cold caloric test. They do it as a testing for brain death.
Ooh, that doesn't sound good.
They take cold like icy cold water, and squeeze it into your ear. They take like a bulb, like a Toomey syringe or something, squirt it in there. And if your eyes don't move, like usually there'll be a reaction, like your eyes will usually turn towards the stimulus. That doesn't happen. It's it's one of the check boxes for brain death.
Oh my
What
God.
about when they're not brain dead and they go, whoa, so sorry.
If they're not,
sorry.
they get like a nystagmus that happens. It's
Holy cow, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
Medicine's
painful.
bizarre in how awful it can be sometimes.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah,
Jeez.
so what do we
Sorry.
think?
Don't do that.
How do we think this is gonna turn out from a legal standpoint in the future? Like, I feel like it's not good. I feel like there's nothing good about this.
Well, there's a lot of clinics that have halted treatments for now because they're like, shit, we gotta clear some things up first. If the courts be saying this is a frozen embryo be a kid in the civil circuit. Now, they've even like halted like transferring the embryos. Let's just say I live in Bama and I want to go to Georgia to do that IVF because Georgia don't have this law, but Alabama transferred them over via
FedEx.
courier truck. I don't know. I'm sure that there's a way that you. I'm sure there's a way you could transport really cold shit. I think
ice cream truck.
Just put the
Totally ice
gasoline tank into the truck.
Are they outlawing
Either
that?
way, they are not doing that. because think about it. If you did that and the truck gets into a wreck on the way,
Yeah.
well, in Alabama, well, shit. I mean,
Now,
wrongful death.
not to throw back to an earlier episode, but just to connect some dots here. This is a great argument for federalism. You know why? Because Alabama is going to be the petri dish for the nation to see how this resolves itself. And the unfortunate thing is people are going to get hurt in the meantime.
Mhm.
But this is either going to make sense and work out or it's not. And the beauty of the Dobbs decision and of federalism is we're just going to let Alabama fight this out. And
Fight
the
this
other
out.
49 states are going to look. I mean, no other state's going to do jack squat till Alabama gets through this because everyone's looking to see what's going to
Yeah, we don't
happen
know.
here.
We
And I
still
think
have
it's
a
going
few
to crash
possibilities.
and burn. I think it will. I can't see how this is sustainable
And yet
or
so much
viable.
sustainable now. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it carries on and it gets worse, because that seems to be the direction we're going with
But at
most.
least if it comes up in other states, there will be a precedent and they can say, look what happened. Bing, 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 bing. So
Yeah.
if it's a bad decision, it's a bad decision. And the other 49 states will learn from it. I know I'm being idealistic, but that's the idea, as opposed to everything coming out of DC where the Supreme Court makes a decision and it's like, okay, everyone's got to do the same thing, good, bad, or indifferent. Anyway, just a thought. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, I'm like, let Alabama figure it out, man. Let them
Yeah.
argue it in their courts. Let them see how it plays out. Because I think it's a disaster. I mean, I do. I mean, I don't see how they can keep it. It's going to destroy that industry. It's going to make young people who are looking to start a family leave, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's gonna result in less births. I mean,
yeah,
a very small decrease in births. I mean, because not everyone's getting pregnant via IVF
right.
out there. But I mean, some people, a lot of people are.
Yeah, I think it's,
I think
man,
there's scenarios that we haven't even thought of.
of
Oh, I'm sure.
course.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And so I think this is what's going to happen. I think that it's going to stay. I think that this ruling is going to stay on the books in the civil circuit. Maybe it's going to take some tweaking.
Hmm.
Maybe it's going to take, because like I said, I do get where the families are coming from.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, maybe it was negligence that they should have sued for. I don't know. But again, not all things, I mean,
Look,
really should
I
be a
go
wrongful death situation.
when
I
I
don't
go
know.
into 7-Eleven during the
Rebecca.
summertime and I want a Slurpee, sometimes the Slurpee machine's broken.
I know, shit
I'm just
sucks.
saying, stuff breaks down. I'm just saying stuff breaks down.
When I go to McDonald's and want ice cream, every time I really want that ice cream,
Man.
the fucking ice cream machine is broken.
And
That's a conspiracy.
it is a conspiracy. It absolutely is a conspiracy because the company that makes the ice cream machine,
Yeah.
it's
They're
like
the only
built-in
ones that can fix it.
obsolescence. Yeah, they're
I
the
feel
only
like
one.
it's like a clockwork. You know, there's a website. I think it's called Fix Broken McDonald. I don't know what it's called, but it maps out all the McDonald's with broken ice cream machines in your area. So
Oh,
you know, if you're like, man, I want that McFlurry, don't go to that one because they ain't
yeah,
gonna have it.
it's broken.
It's broke. They
And
don't know how
it's
to fix it.
yeah, and if you're there, it's like, oh man, now don't get any ice
The other thing I
cream.
don't understand is like, I used to work at Burger King a
Hmm.
long time ago.
Yeah.
That ice cream machine never broke. I mean, what is there to break? All you would do is you put the ice cream mix in the top. I mean, sometimes you got to clean it, but you clean it at like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
No, like maybe one
And
person you got to tell we ain't got no ice cream. Sorry, bro.
and it was like soft serve, right? I mean, even
Yeah,
McDonald's
like
is
ice
like
cream
soft
machine.
serve.
It was like the same. I mean, not the
The
same
Mr.
stuff, but it's the
Frosty.
same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used
I
to
mean,
work.
Dairy Queen's machines don't ever go down.
No, no, they figure it out. My first job was at McDonald's. I worked there for one summer.
How
I think
often the ice cream machine break?
I don't even know. Did we have ice cream back then? I don't even remember. I swept up the dining room. I was like 14 and a half or 15. I just like swept up. I was like wiping down trays and they
That's
didn't
cute.
let me behind the counter
Yeah,
or anything.
I had to right in the drive-through.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was really weird because like when sometimes the buttons you'd get mixed up and you try to be talking to your friends on the headset, but you fucking be talking to the people out there.
Yeah.
And you're like cussing them out,
Yeah.
but they could hear you. You're like, oh shit.
Damn it.
Yeah, we're closed.
That seems like a hard job, man.
It's
me.
just stressful
Yeah.
because it's constant. You can't
Well,
ever
I mean, for like 10 minutes, it seems like it would be okay, but doing it for hours, I mean, jeez, man, that just seems hard.
yeah.
I don't like
Mhm.
working.
I don't like
Working,
working either. Why do we have jobs?
I mean, I like the paycheck part. I just don't
Me
like the
too.
working
The
part.
work
Like,
part.
if
I
we
don't
can
like the
just figure
going
out a
there
way to
part.
get the paycheck, is that the guaranteed income
I
thing
think
that
that's like
everyone's?
unemployment.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
That's not very good. So, are there any other states that you've heard that are entertaining this, or is it strictly a
No, I think
Bama
it's
thing?
just a Bama thing. Just Alabama.
And it was, and I'm wondering because sometimes, like, what did it have a movement behind it, or was it just these families? Because
No, it was just
sometimes,
this event.
so it's just this freak event that caused this to
Yeah.
come to the fore. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because I know sometimes there's organizations on all sides of a thing that want to sue, and they did like what Zeus says, they just wait for they wait for a case to come up that they can use
attach
as a
Corey
wedge.
No,
up.
this wasn't like Alabamans for life or anything. Like it wasn't like that.
Gotcha. I
I don't
wonder
know if
what
there is an Alabamans for life, but there's a Kansans for life, so I figured.
so is this so this went to the Alabama Supreme Court?
Yep.
So it's done in that, so it would have to go to the Supreme Court, and I guess whoever the defendant is, whether it's the hospital or Mr. Bean, whoever dropped the stuff, I mean, they'd have to appeal it to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court is not going to want to touch this with a 10-foot pole,
Not at
man.
all.
They're not going to want to touch it at all. I,
Yes.
I don't see why they would want to touch it at all. But
Well,
It's very bizarre. I don't like it just on general principle.
I don't like it at all. I
No.
think I think it's I think it's short-sighted. I think it creates more problems than it solves. I think there's ways to compensate the
Who do you think
families
is gonna
without
attach
turning
to
it into this.
yeah,
who?
I think it could have just been like a negligence or
Yeah.
a malpractice. I don't know, but
I'm I'm gonna be interested in seeing who attaches themselves to this politically, because somebody will.
I
Is it
don't
gonna
know.
be
It's so weird.
Christians or is it gonna be
yeah, probably
liberal?
Catholics because they're the ones that fucking think that everything is life.
Yeah.
Have any candidates come out and said anything
No,
either
Well,
they
way?
tried to say that Nikki Haley was behind it, but
Like
she
behind, like
no, not
supporting the
behind
court?
it, but like supporting the
The court.
decision.
Wow.
But that really was taken out of context, and she was like, "I'm not saying that I think that." She's like, "I think that they are life. However, I don't think that they're. You should be charged for wrongful death for something for happening to them."
But to me, this is a conversation that should have been had 40, 50 years ago when IVF came out. I mean, in
Yeah,
other words, how can you allow the procedure and not allow this eventuality somewhere? Because it's going to
it's gonna
happen.
happen. Yeah.
yeah.
It's like we allow you to drive cars, but if you crash a car, you're going to be executed.
I
That's
mean,
just
this happens
stupid.
in birth. I mean, did you guys hear about the
Yes.
birth that this is pretty recent too, that the baby was born with no head?
Oh my
Did you guys hear about
God.
this?
No.
No.
Yeah, so the baby was it had shoulder dystocia, which if you don't know what shoulder dystocia is, it's basically where the shoulders get stuck. They too
Oh,
big to come out. Well, when it happens, the head is out, but the whole baby ate. So it's stuck in there. And so this is when they like, if it's severe enough, if they can't, you can either break the collarbone to like kind of shove the baby to like shove the baby's shoulders together so it comes out. They can vacuum vacuum as much as they can. They can use it the forceps. And then there's something called a Zavanelli procedure that they get that I don't know how they do it, but I think it involves like some pushing and some pulling and no, just kidding. That's not what it's called. Or that's not what it is.
that's not a funny
Basically,
joke.
Zavanelli, I think that they push the baby back in somehow.
Mm.
Oh,
It's very rare. They don't do it because it's rare.
Jeez.
Yeah, there's been, I mean, like there's also, if you're in shoulder dystocia, depending on, how severe it is, there's been like nurses on top of the mom pushing the baby out, like, get out, like on, I mean, baby
It's a
can't come out.
physical
It's
thing.
a pretty
Yeah.
much an emergency. Look, Zeus being frozen.
Yeah. That's a good thing to freeze on.
like a fellow.
He's freaking out.
It
So,
comes out.
anyway, so they worked on this baby for like too long, longer than they should have. I mean, when you're in shoulder dystocia, it's like one of those medical emergencies, like you got this long before this happens. Hurry the fuck up. So they
So
took the
is
baby
this
back.
at this point?
This is a full term baby, full term.
Right,
I
that's what I
think
was
it was
gonna
like
ask.
36 weeks. I
Is
think
this
it's
at a
36
point
weeks.
where they're trying to save the mother, or they're trying to save?
Started to save the baby.
So the baby's just stuck. The head is like just stuck underneath but they're viable.
Yeah. So once the head is
Wow.
born, and they breathe, like they're like that whatever trigger, I don't know how
Oh,
babies work, but it triggers them to start breathing basically. Well, they can't do that because they are still connected to the placenta and they are crushed. Their lungs can't get air. So it's like they need to come out. Because when babies are born, it takes forever to get the head out. But once the head out, they just come right out, and they do the things, they start breathing
slip
and
and
they cut
slide.
that cord. Yeah. So then they took the mom back to, I mean, again, full term baby. They took the mom back to cesarean to do a C-section because that's the only way you're gonna get that baby out. C-sectioned her, pulled the baby's body out with no head attached.
Mm.
I think that they knew at this point that the baby was no longer alive. I think I don't know, but the thing they didn't tell the parents that the baby didn't have a head. They wrapped the baby, they swaddled the baby in a way that made the fucking babies look like it still had a head.
Mm.
The parents didn't know about it until the funeral home a week later contacted them and
Oh
was like, hey, your
Christ.
baby don't got no head.
Wait, so I not man, I can't. This is the pain.
I'm
This
assuming
is where we make our money because this is hard. So was there a head? It just wasn't
it
attached.
was not attached. I
Okay,
mean,
but
the
there was a
baby
head.
there was a head. It grew a head.
Yeah.
It was going to be a baby, except for
But it was
somehow
like
the head
inside
was
its
not
torso.
attached.
Ah, man, this episode went in a direction I was
And
not
the thought
expecting.
was, well, I mean, shit like this happens all the, I don't
Yeah,
want to say
I
like this
know your
happens,
point, and that's your point. Yeah,
but the thing was,
horrible,
is like,
crazy things.
it was a malpractice, really what it
Gotcha.
was. I mean, the doctor should have not, she should have, gotten to cesarean quicker, number one. Again, I think, like I said, I think the baby was already dead when they went to cesarean. I don't know for sure,
Like
but
they
I
took too long.
think that they were. I think that it
Wow.
was. And so,
Oh,
and again, we don't know. I have to assume that the head was cut off when they cesareaned. I think, because
No.
that would make the most sense, because you cannot pull a full term baby's head off like that. You
I
can't
don't
do it.
know. Maybe. No?
I mean, I guess if maybe it was a preemie, I don't know,
Maybe,
but
maybe she did Kegels.
Oh man.
I don't think
Wow.
Kegels affect the hip bone, though.
Okay, I was just joking.
Okay,
In
well,
poor taste, but
So
wow.
I think my
I never even knew about that one.
I think my fire alarm's going off.
shit.
I may
Beep,
have to
beep, beep, beep,
the police
beep,
are at my door. I
beep,
may have to
beep.
get going soon.
This one went dark real fast. Way to
Well, the
go,
point
Diz.
of that is like, bad shit happens a lot.
No, and it's well taken. I mean, you're right. And that's what I'm saying. It's to get down, there needs to be an area where you have to trust people's intentions,
Yeah.
because humanity, because life isn't perfect and things
And
horrible things happen. And to bring litigation into that, which is already a fraught world to live in. I mean, I can't imagine being like a delivery doctor or a
It,
nurse
it,
that works in a
it,
because
anything in
because
medicine.
every
That's the most
you
litigated
yeah and
field of medicine.
but I'm just saying you are and Desiree where you work is probably close to this because you're dealing with life and death issues. But having a baby is like so intense. I mean, for you, it's Tuesday, and for everyone that you're seeing, it's like the one thing they'll remember the rest of their lives, right?
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, and to just be on that level all the time, it's got to be. You have to build up some kind of thick skin about it.
Yeah,
Maybe it'd be
yeah.
impossible to do your job.
There's
You
a
see
thing that you
horrible, you see
notice.
amazing stuff, and you see horrible stuff. You know, you see a baby come into the world, and then you see a baby
Doesn't have a
without
head.
a head. I mean, it's like I don't know how people. I mean, they're amazing. I don't know how people do that.
But you know,
Well,
I mean, and
this is like a one-off because here's the thing with it, because that you kind of have to look past the event. What if now no one wants to do cesarean sections because, like I said, I've got to feel like that this head was cut off during cesarean
Hmm.
because of the way that the baby was in the birth canal, stuck in there, where you do the cesarean and the neck just got in the way.
Mm.
Versus before you do the cesarean, the baby is up there,
He's
like
up there. Yeah,
it's yeah. I mean, there's no
yeah, you're talking emergency cesarean. So
yeah,
yeah,
any cesarean. I mean, the babies is where the babies go. They're not in the birth canal. The baby was in the birth canal.
yeah.
And so you got to think like, okay, well, now are people going to be afraid to do emergency C-sections because you might decapitate the baby?
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, and this sucks. I hate this, but it's true. At the end of the day, you have to trust professionals. You have to trust doctors. I'm not saying tr all doctors are trustworthy, but again, you can't, there's just some of this stuff that I just think when you start litigating it, it's like a bull in a china shop. Like you're wrecking havoc on a very delicate situation. And I can't believe, I don't know. I just think it's fraud. I think you
yeah.
could
Well, I
literally
mean, Des
cause
will
more
back
damage than you save.
Des will back me up on this. It's like we see people in medicine differently than the outsiders do. Like I fully, I mean, yeah, there's bad doctors, there's bad nurses, but that's just like cops or any other
Any
job. You got
profession.
people that are not good at what they do. But in medicine, you're talking about highly educated people that are very focused on certain aspects of what they do. Like there's gastroenterologists, there's urologists, there's every ologist you can think of, and they do medicine and they know about the other parts of the body. And yes, they may even be able to perform some practices in those other fields, but they're really good at what they do. And like I said, Des will back me up on this. It's very frustrating when somebody comes in and they immediately go into don't trust you, you're the hospital. And it's all because of this litigious society that we become because doctors are generally good. You don't go to 8 years of school to pay $300,000 in debt for your first 6 years of your practice and not have some commitment to the science that
Well,
you're
and
supposed
look at what you said about other professions is very true. And again, not that I'm not making light of it, but look at an analogy that everyone can relate to or can see, like professional football. Okay, these people are the best in the world that do what they do. And the reason we know that is they get paid so much freaking money.
Yeah.
It's worth it for these teams to find the best people in the world. And you have a Super Bowl and you've got the best quarterback, probably, or the second best in the league, thrown to one of the best receivers the last minute, and he throws the ball over his head and misses. I mean, I'm saying this is somebody that's the
So let's sue
best in
him
the
for
world at what they
losing all of
do.
the money for the league.
What I'm saying is sometimes when you're the best at something, sometimes it's just not going to happen. You can try your best. I'm sure. I mean, there's horrible things that happen to people. If you have the best doctor in the world and they're dealt this horrible set of circumstances and they've got 30 seconds to make a decision. I mean, I'll
Sometimes you
roll
make
my
the wrong
bones with
one.
that doctor. Like I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna know what to do. Like look,
Well,
man, I know it's almost hopeless, but you're
the
our best
irony of it is,
chance.
the
Throw
irony
the
of it is,
ball. Throw
I'm
Yeah,
it.
a,
hold on, wait a second. No, that you're about to make a very good point because it's the
but you
last ditch
failed
effort.
us.
It's the last ditch
It's the
effort.
last ditch effort. I don't know if it's gonna work.
Yeah, I don't know if it's
Let's
gonna
try it
work.
because you ain't got no other option.
Yeah,
That's kind of the
do
same thing with this IVF. Listen, you don't have any other option,
you don't have
honey.
any other option? Do you
So
want
we're
us to
gonna
just
try
not
this.
allow you? I mean, what if the law is you can't do it? You know,
Yeah,
that sucks.
that's sad.
That's very sad.
I mean, like, yeah, for instance, somebody that had a child naturally, but they froze their eggs also. One of the cases that she was talking about, and then the child dies for whatever reason, and they want to have another child. They want to fill that hole in their life, whatever reason. And then they're going to say, no, you can't do that.
I, I'm just
It's
saying, at the end of the day,
awful.
you have to trust, and that's why doctors make a lot of money. That's why the best people in their professions supposedly make a lot of money. I mean, and look, if there's always going to be a stinker that gets through, there's going to be some guy that like had too much to drink last night, whatever, I don't know. But welcome to planet Earth, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, in other words, life is crazy, man. It's a miracle that the three of us are even alive today. I mean, how many cars almost ran into us through our lives? Like, whatever. How many diseases did we dodge? Like, I don't know. I mean, it's amazing to even be alive. It's
Yeah.
like,
But yeah, but again, for me, it's just so frustrating when people go, like, with me, I've said it before, but this is for this thing. I'm a psych nurse, and people ask me all the time about, well, what's this?
yeah,
They're like, well, what do you do with a broken bone? I'm like, I think it's like hot and cold. I can look it up. The brilliance of nursing in itself is that one of the first things that you really have to get down is knowing the language, and then it actually becomes easier to like to
communicate.
think out what they're saying. Like, if Des throw when she throws out something I haven't heard of, I can usually noodle out what it is based on the words she used. Like a lot of Latin based stuff, hypomanic,
Hmm.
hyperactive,
It's enough.
those are easy. But like, for instance, when my youngest had what was called, and I'll do a test with you, Des, and see if I know you'll figure it out, but he had a retropharyngeal abscess.
Uh-huh.
So,
Something an abscess that's behind his pharynx or
yep, exactly.
pharynx.
Pharynx.
Well, it's like,
Yeah,
but look
but you
back
would
at like,
never guess what that was, right, Mike?
Ugh, that
no, I
sounds
had no
gross.
idea.
Yeah.
But look at like Redonda Vault. I mean, so that's the thing where people are like, even Zeus, you were saying like, well, should kind of fuck up, right? But
Yeah.
people are gonna fuck up. I mean, that's why they call it a practice, I guess, right? I mean,
Well, actually, in
medical
his
practice. I mean,
they grabbed
it's a
us as we were
skill.
walking out the door and said, "Hey, wait, there's one other thing that we didn't check. Let's check it." They saved his life, but they did kind of nearly drop the ball.
Yeah,
I just think I think in medicine there's a lot of wording that CYA.
yeah,
Well,
of
It's like,
course.
okay, we're gonna do this thing. The end result could be death. I mean, I have seen people go through the most routine shit and die. I mean, I'm just like, what the hell? But it happens. It happens. I mean, and I guess that's what you signed a consent form for. I don't know, but
I mean, there's a big
gotta let
difference
them
if
know.
someone's sitting there, a doctor sitting there eating a Twinkie and playing like Minecraft on his phone and then like screws during surgery, right? Of course that's absurd. But if they're going through their regular thing and they're competent and they're sober and they are following the procedures, and I guess what they say is they weren't following procedures, or there was something wrong, or how much sleep did you get the night before, or what medicines are you taking? I mean, I'm sure there's a million
yeah.
million things. I mean, that's why lawyers do what lawyers do.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think there, in general, in medicine, there's everybody kind of wants to be a hero on one level or another. Maybe not necessarily saving lives, but maybe but maybe just making it better and having the street cred that you did something. I think we all in medicine have a little bit of that in us.
No,
Nurse,
I want to save lives. I do that.
what?
Shit.
What
I
did you say?
said I save lives. I'd be doing that.
Yeah,
Shit.
exactly. But in any profession, what I deal with is nowhere near what you guys are dealing with, but I want to do a good job. You know what I mean? It's like I want my client to be happy. Everyone
Get into
wants
the
to do
Post.
well.
You want to
What?
get into the
Yeah, you
Washington
want to get
Post.
in a newspaper.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you want to get in the newspaper. I don't know. Like I said, speaking as someone that's had surgeries before, I get myself when I'm sitting there, and they get you prepped in the IV, and this is for planned surgery. This is not trauma
Yeah.
related. But even for that, I all the times I get myself into a state of mind and I'm like at peace and I'm like, it's gonna be okay. Like they've got it. Because the alternative is you just worry yourself relentlessly, and there's a lot of peace of just being like, and that's why having like a good bedside manner with a doctor is good. And it's like, oh man, they've got it all figured out. I can just relax, you know?
I don't I don't even run across a lot of doctors that have bad bedside manner. It's like, I mean, I'm sure it's out there, but I
Yeah,
haven't. Nurses now, that's a whole nother story.
well,
Nurses can
they're
be dismissive as shit, but doctors they got their shit down. I got mad respect for doctors and nurses. Good nurses. Bad nurses are pieces of garbage. But like even when going back to another episode, as Mike had said earlier, even with Redonda Vaught, with her whole situation, I think back then I was definitely like she should lose or she
yeah,
should
you
not
did.
be. But I think I might have. I think I've loosened my grasp on that a little bit. I think if she was willing to jump through a few hoops and show that she was
Uh,
competent,
she can't work again, dude, because if anything happens anywhere down the line, no hospital wants to go to court and
I
be like, oh
understand
yeah,
that
we
she
hired
can't.
the girl that
I understand
we
that she can't, and it will not happen.
yeah.
But what I'm saying is, I think I feel like it's sad now that she has no recourse.
But going to
Because
jail was crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would have been bad for nurses all over. So good on,
Again,
every
it's the
once in a
same
while they
thing
get
as
one right.
with the embryos. Like, if you're a physician that does IVF and something happened to those embryos, you shouldn't go to jail for it. I mean,
Mm-mm.
unless you like grossly did something like you threw him
and,
against the wall or some shit. I don't know.
and is it could it be said that this could go to it's 100,000 lives left or however many they hold in whatever container they got? Could it go that way? You know what I
What?
mean? Like
No, I don't know what you mean.
or like they're a mass murderer because it was several eggs. Like,
Well, usually it's like 8.
okay, well that's mass murder.
It's
Yeah,
going to look, this is going to drive the cost of IVF up because now the people that make the machinery that keeps the embryos cold are going to have multiple more redundant systems to make sure stuff doesn't break down. Everything's going to get more expensive, you
wouldn't
know?
it be crazy to find out that the IVF people backed this law because they knew that that might be an outcome?
That would be crazy. You know what the best thing that happened out of the Redonda Vault case?
What?
What's that?
We met Desiree,
Oh,
Oh,
that's
right?
right.
right.
Wasn't that like the whole
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
impetus? Yeah, man.
that
So
was
I feel bad for that old lady, but
She
it
wasn't old.
worked out
Oh,
for us.
the patient was old. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know how it's gonna happen down in Alabama, but y'all need to get
I'd love to
better.
get
I think.
Daffodils on this show. God damn, that would be a pull. I send her texts all the time.
Oh, well, that
I'm like, I'm your
not in the
biggest fan.
middle of the night, right? You're not like at 2 a.m. or anything.
Listen here, Mrs. Ma'am.
Come
I'm
on
your
our
biggest.
show.
I
Well,
I'm sure she's run across our show. I'm sure she was deep diving into it. I would be
oh,
very,
no
but
question.
yeah, that's a rough one. I feel sad for her, but she's got like a farm now and it's profitable and she like all her legal fees and all were like people raised money for her, and she never really suffered any financial loss. She probably even came out ahead.
Nice.
So that's good. Has nothing to do with IVF, but
I thought you were gonna say like she invested in an IVF firm or something.
yeah.
Well, unless you guys have something, I think as our friend Jack would say,
It's about time
I
we.
think but I don't want to step on any
Could be.
toes, but I'm just looking at the clock.
Do you
I
have
think
anything more for us that we didn't go over, Des?
it was
No.
a great show. I mean, it was at
It's informative.
times painful, very
That
informative for
that no
sure.
head thing, that's a doozy right there.
Yeah, and there's a lot I need to learn about basic human reproduction, apparently, how things work.
I think you know how things work. You've got a knee biter in your house.
I know, but I got to look up IUDs and all that stuff.
Yeah,
IUDs, DEI, I don't know. It all runs
DEA maybe.
together.
Yeah.
DEAs, DOJ, all that stuff. Anyway, I think it's about time we wrap it up.
Or maybe don't if you're trying to have a baby.